Hey everybody, I'm Mike Bajsec. I'm a member of the River Franklin Park, and today I bring you Lenten Lunch. Today's passage is based on Matthew chapter 19, verses 21 through 35. So it's a little bit of a lengthy passage. I want to jump right in. So follow along. Then Peter came to him and said to him, "Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Up to 7 times?" Jesus said to him, "I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. For this reason, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a certain king who wished to settle accounts with his slaves. And when he had begun to settle them, there was brought to him one slave who owed him 10,000 talents. But since he did not have the means to repay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, along with his wife and his children and all that he had, and repayment to be made. The slave therefore fell down and prostrated himself before him, saying, 'Have patience with me. I will repay you everything.' And the Lord of that slave felt compassion and released him and forgave him the debt. But that slave then went out, found one of his fellow slaves who owed him 100 denarii, and he seized him and began to choke him, saying, 'Pay back what you owe.' So his fellow slave fell down and began to entreat him, saying, 'Have patience with me. I'll repay you.' He was unwilling, however, but went and threw him into prison until he should pay back what he owed. So when his fellow slaves saw what had happened, they were deeply grieved, and they came and they reported to their Lord all that had happened. Then summoning him, his Lord said to him, 'You wicked slave, I forgave you all that debt because you entreated me.' So, should you not have also had mercy on your fellow slave, even as I had mercy on you?' And his Lord, moved with anger, handed him over to the torturers until he should repay all that was owed him. So shall my heavenly Father also do to you if each of you does not forgive his brother from your heart." Kind of a lengthy passage, and kind of a dark passage to a certain extent. There's the only bright spot to this was when the slave was actually forgiven 10,000 talents. To bring it a little bit into perspective, 10,000 talents is equal to about $25 or $30 million today. Just an exorbitant sum of money. Whereas 100 denarii is about $30,000. So clearly, the one who's forgiven by his master was forgiven a gigantic, a huge, an unimaginable amount of money. An amount of money that, quite frankly, I don't think we could, any of us, any people that I know, let's put it that way, could pay that back. Whereas if you had a debt of, $25,000 or $30,000, given enough time, you could probably pay that back. And I've always been struck how someone could walk out of the presence of one who just forgave them a ridiculous amount of money, or a ridiculous hurt, or just an unimaginable pain that you caused somebody. How someone could be forgiven that much and turn around almost on their heels, and with that freedom that they were given, go out, find someone who owes them a significantly smaller, whether it's an amount of money or a sin against them or something of that nature, and absolutely not only not forgive, but almost punitively reach out and try to just wring the last little bit of, as the old adage goes, that pound of flesh out of that person who owes. The really funny thing about it is that as I've thought about it over the years, I've realized that I'm capable of being that man and have been that man. I'm sure someone listening to me has felt that way, that they've been hurt so badly by someone, or they felt so wronged by someone that it was just impossible for them to forgive, even in the face of what we've been forgiven. I think sometimes also we forget how much we've been forgiven. We forget sometimes just how much distance there is between the Father and us. The reason it was required that Jesus come into this world and be sacrificed for us, because the debt that we owe could never be paid. It was impossible. There's not enough time, enough energy, enough perfection in our human nature to pay our sin debt. I think the other thing that I find interesting too is that we forget a lot of times that when you hold someone hostage and you hold back forgiveness from them, you are the one who is most often, every single time, but usually the only person most often who is held hostage by that. So many times the other person has no idea that that you're wrestling with that it's eating you inside, that it's eating you to the point where you can't forgive that person. Jesus' words they're quite telling. The Father will not forgive those who do not forgive others' debts to them from their heart. Some of those debts that are owed to us are from people who never repay them. Some of them are from people who are dead and can't repay. The human heart is an interesting thing. It holds on to things sometimes that just really don't make any sense. I have learned one thing in almost 60 plus years on this planet, almost 62 years on this planet. I've learned that the shorter the accounts that I keep, the better shape my own heart is in. The better my relationship is with Jesus. The happier I am. So my admonition today is this. Figure out if there's somebody that you need to forgive. Go forgive them. Free yourself. Yes, you set them free too. But most importantly, you free yourself. And you put yourself in line with what Jesus wants us to do, how he wants us to live, which is never a bad thing. So search your heart. Go out and find that person if they're still here. If they're not, if they've passed on, if they're no longer in your life, if you can't go face to face with them, set up a chair opposite you. Have a conversation with them. Release them. My suspicion is if it's been a while, you may have to do it more than once. I know I have many times had to do it more than one time to not only release them, but come to the point where I could bless them sincerely, pray for them and bless them, that God would be good to them, that he would give them what they need, and that he would be their God and they would be his child. It's hard to do when you're holding something against someone, but I challenge you to do it. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of these Lenten lunches and follow hard after Jesus.